He was only 8 years old when he walked into a biker bar with a black eye and a pocket full of crumpled bills. His voice cracked as he begged, "Will you kill my stepdad for me?" The room fell silent. What those bikers did next would not only change his life, but expose a network of secrets no one in town dared talk about. What would you have done if that little boy looked you in the eye? The bell above the diner door rattled as the storm outside slammed it shut. Most nights, the Iron Rain MC claimed the back booths of the old truck stop, their jackets heavy with road dust, patches stitched with years of brotherhood. Tonight was no different. Laughter, the scrape of boots on linoleum, the low hum of engines cooling outside. But the moment the boy walked in, everything went still. He couldn't have been more than 8. His shirt hung loose, stained from dirt and rain, one sleeve torn nearly at the shoulder. A bruise bloomed purple across his cheek, another along his thin arm, which he held close like it might shatter. In his other hand, he clutched a wad of crumpled bills so tightly his knuckles glowed white. He staggered to the counter, the room following him in silence. The waitress, a wiry woman named Carla who'd seen plenty in her years behind that counter, froze when she saw the boy's eyes. They weren't wild or panicked. They were steady, hollow in a way that didn't belong to a child. He set the bills down on the counter, voice breaking as he whispered, "Will you kill my stepdad for me?" The words landed like a grenade in the silence, leaving every breath in the room suspended. A few bikers shifted in their seats. One laughed nervously, certain he'd misheard. But the boy didn't flinch. His lips trembled, but his stare held. From the far booth, Logan McCready rose, president of Iron Rain. His presence filled the room before he spoke a word. A man in his late 40s, broad-shouldered, his beard flecked with gray. He carried himself with the weight of years on the road, and years of choices he couldn't undo. He stepped forward slowly, the others parting without a sound. Logan crouched to the boy's level. "Son," he said, voice low, "say that again." The boy's throat bobbed. "Please, kill him. He hurts my sister. He hurts my mom. He hurts me. No one else listens." Behind him, the door creaked. A small girl lingered there, maybe 6 years old. She didn't speak. She didn't even cry. Her wide eyes followed every move, her small hands gripping the frame as if ready to bolt. "That's Wanda," the boy said without turning. "She doesn't talk anymore." The room, full of men who'd seen war, prison, and every kind of cruelty on the road, fell into a silence deeper than reverence. Logan glanced at the bills, a handful of crumpled ones and loose change, no more than $11. The boy must have scraped them together from under couches, under cushions, maybe begged them off strangers. Money he thought could buy freedom. Logan picked up the wad and set it back gently in Owen's palm. "Keep it," he said. "What's your name?" "Owen." Logan nodded. "All right, Owen. You're safe here. Nobody's laying a hand on you or your sister tonight." One of the bikers, a tall man with tattoos climbing his neck, muttered, "Kid's gotta be making this up. People talk." Owen's answer came like a knife. He rolled up his sleeve higher, revealing burns that wrapped around his forearm, half-healed welts, and bruises in the shape of fingers. The little girl stepped forward at last, silent as she lifted her shirt just enough to show the edge of a bandage along her ribs. No one in the room doubted him anymore. Carla, hand trembling, slid 2 mugs of hot chocolate across the counter. "Sit down, honey," she whispered, but Owen shook his head. His small voice hardened. "I don't need chocolate. I need him gone. He'll kill Mom if she doesn't do what he says. He told her no one would believe us. And he's right. No one does." Logan stood slowly, his jaw tight. He looked around at his men. Men who'd broken laws, men who'd fought their own wars, men who lived by codes outsiders never understood. And yet, not one of them could meet his eyes, because every one of them knew the truth. If they turned this boy away, they were no better than the stepdad he feared. "Who else have you told?" Logan asked. Owen's answer came with a bitterness no child should know. "Everyone. Cops, teachers, lady from CPS. They write it down, then nothing happens. He knows people. He's got cameras in the house. Says if Mom talks, he'll show everyone. Says he'll make sure we're taken away forever. The girl's small hands twisted in her shirt. She still hadn't made a sound. Logan let out a long breath, then spoke to his men. Patch in the council. Now, nobody leaves. Phones buzzed, chairs scraped. The room shifting from disbelief into something heavier. Resolve. Owen blinked, confused. Council. Logan crouched again, resting a hand carefully on the boy's shoulder. It means we don't make a move without every man here agreeing. We don't take jobs unless we're all in. Tonight, you just gave us one. Owen's eyes flickered with something like hope. He looked down at the crumpled bills in his hand. So, you'll do it? Logan didn't smile. He didn't joke. He just met the boy's stare and said, "We're gonna make sure you and Wanda are safe. That's a promise." Behind him, his men exchanged glances. This wasn't just another bar fight or back alley grudge. They'd be going up against a man protected by connections, by secrets buried deep. It would drag them into something that could burn their entire club down. But as Owen reached for his sister's hand, the room seemed to decide in unison. A child had walked into fire tonight, and they were about to walk in with him. The night stretched long after Owen's words shattered the quiet of the diner. The council meeting had been tense, voices rising, fists slamming the table. But in the end, the Iron Rain brothers reached the same conclusion. They weren't going to kill the man. That wasn't the way. But they would dismantle him, piece by piece, until no one could ever doubt what he'd done. By dawn, the first plan was already in motion. 2 riders, Jacks Hammer Doyle and Miguel St. Rivera, packed Owen and Wanda into the back of a beat-up van. They drove them out of town, away from the main roads, to a cabin tucked in the pines. It belonged to Logan's cousin, Marcy, a trauma nurse who worked irregular shifts at a county hospital. Marcy was the kind of woman who could stitch a wound with fishing line and silence a screaming child with a single look. She knelt in front of Wanda, hands steady, eyes gentle. "She's not mute," Marcy said softly after checking Wanda's throat. "She's traumatized. Kids don't stop talking without a reason." Owen hovered close, always between Wanda and the world. Marcy gave him a small nod. "You did good bringing her here." Back at the clubhouse, Logan assigned another pair of bikers, Flint and Ryder, to watch the stepdad's property. They didn't roll up with roaring engines or colors on display. They parked an old pickup across the street, cameras ready, eyes sharper than any surveillance feed. Within hours, they spotted the first anomaly. Small red lights blinking faintly in the windows. Hidden cameras. Not just a paranoid man protecting his shop. These were professional installations with feeds running to offsite servers. Inside, the man moved with the casual arrogance of someone who believed himself untouchable. He worked late in the garage, grease coating his hands, while a laptop on the bench flickered with live video feeds from every room in the house. Wanda's bedroom, the kitchen, the hallway. Their mother passed through the frames like a ghost, shoulders hunched, eyes constantly scanning as if the walls themselves were watching her. She paused once in the kitchen, her hand resting on the counter as if steadying herself, whispering under her breath, "I thought I was keeping them safe. I was just trapped too." "Jesus," Ryder muttered into his radio. "He's caging them with cameras." Meanwhile, in the back room of the clubhouse, Switchblade sat hunched over 3 different laptops, cables snaking across the table. He wasn't built like the others, lanky with wire-rimmed glasses and ink-stained hands, but when it came to systems, he was lethal. Lines of code scrolled down his screen as he tunneled through firewalls. "Got him," he said after hours of silence. "This ain't just about cameras. The bastard's laundering cash through a towing company. On paper, it looks clean. But dig deep and it links to trucks that don't exist, drivers that don't exist. That's human cargo." Logan leaned over his shoulder. "You're telling me he's in with traffickers?" Switchblade nodded grimly. "And he's got cops in his pocket. Explains why every complaint about him disappears." Logan's jaw tightened. He thought back to Owen's small voice asking for something no child should ask. This wasn't just about a violent stepdad. This was about a predator hiding behind a whole system. To keep their moves quiet, Logan reached out to someone he hadn't spoken to in years. His sister, Claire McCready, once a military lawyer, now a respected attorney who carved through corruption cases like a blade. She wasn't thrilled to get his call. "You're asking me to risk my career based on intel from an outlaw club," she said over the phone. "I'm asking you to save kids," Logan countered. "One of them hasn't spoken in months. You know me, Claire. If I say it's bad, it's bad." The silence stretched. Finally, Claire exhaled. "Send me what you've got. I'll keep it quiet. But Logan, don't drag me into a war you can't win." While Switchblade funneled her the files, Flint and Ryder watched the stepdad grow restless. He met with strangers in the dead of night, exchanging envelopes, whispering behind the hum of the tow trucks. Once, Ryder caught the flash of a gun tucked into his waistband. It all might have stayed under wraps if not for the slip. Late one evening, Owen's mother stepped out to dump trash. She noticed the old pickup parked across the street. Her eyes widened, panic flooding her face as she darted back inside. Within the hour, the stepdad stormed out, phone pressed to his ear, pacing under the yellow glow of the streetlight. His voice carried just enough. "They're watching me," he hissed. "You said I was covered. You said fine. I'll move the girl. The boy's already gone. I'll move her tonight." Ryder's blood ran cold. He keyed the radio. "Logan, he's moving Wanda." But Wanda wasn't supposed to be there. She was safe with Marcy. Unless, back at the cabin, Marcy stepped into the empty room, the bed neatly made. The window was open, curtains fluttering. Wanda was gone. For the iron rain, the clock had just started ticking. The call came in just past midnight. Ryder's voice was sharp over the radio. "He's on the move. He's got the girl." Logan's stomach dropped. He was already throwing on his jacket before the words had finished. Wanda was supposed to be safe, but the open window at Marcy's cabin told them everything. The stepdad had somehow gotten there first. Engines roared to life outside the clubhouse. One by one, the iron rain bikes lit the dark, their headlights cutting through drizzle and smoke. Logan swung his leg over his Harley, his face a mask of iron. "No hesitation," he barked. "We get her back. Alive." Switchblade tracked the man's phone, but the signal went dead halfway down Route 19, burned, tossed, or disabled. For a moment, it felt like Wanda had vanished into thin air. Then Logan's own phone buzzed. A text from an encrypted number, "Follow the signal." Attached was a live ping, not from the stepdad's phone, but from a biker vest GPS tag. Logan froze. The only way that signal could have moved was if someone had planted it on the man himself. Or on Wanda. "Smart girl," Logan muttered. She slipped it into his bag. The convoy thundered down the highway, Switchblade feeding directions through their comms. Signals moving south, fast. "He's in a van. Not registered. Looks like he's heading toward the interstate." They caught sight of it at mile marker 112. A beat-up white van weaving through traffic, headlights busted, plates obscured by mud. Logan twisted the throttle, pulling ahead, his brothers fanning out behind him like a wall of chrome and thunder. Inside the van, through a tinted back window, Logan glimpsed a small figure. Wanda. She sat pressed against the door, face pale, eyes locked forward. She didn't cry, didn't move, just watched. The stepdad swerved as he spotted the bikes closing in, tires screeching across the wet asphalt. He leaned on the horn, pushing the van harder, reckless enough to kill them all if it meant escape. Logan signaled with a raised fist. The riders split, half boxing in the van, the others blocking traffic to protect civilians. A semi blared its horn as Iron Rain riders swarmed around it, clearing the lanes. Then, flashing blue cut through the dark. Sirens wailed. Logan cursed under his breath. FBI SUVs tore down the opposite ramp, screeching onto the interstate, floodlights blazing. "Logan," Switchblade crackled. "Don't panic. I tipped them off." Logan clenched his jaw. Outlaws didn't dance with the feds, but this wasn't about outlaw codes anymore. This was about kids. The standoff unfolded in seconds. The van was trapped, box by bikes on one side and SUVs on the other. Logan braked hard, skidding to a stop directly in front of the van. The stepdad slammed the brakes, tires screaming, bumper stopping inches from Logan's bike. Agents poured out of their vehicles, rifles leveled. Bikers dismounted, hands hovering near their cuts, ready but not reckless. Rain pelted the asphalt, steam rising from overheated engines. The night was alive with tension, one spark away from explosion. The stepdad burst from the van, dragging Wanda by the arm, gun pressed against her temple. His face was slick with sweat, rage in every line. "You touch me, she dies," he screamed, voice breaking against the storm. "You think you can box me in? You think you can take what's mine?" Logan stepped forward, slow, steady. "She was never yours," he said. The man's eyes darted, wild, calculating. "Back off, every one of you," an agent barked. "Drop the weapon." Guns clicked, tension razor-thin. The bikers held their ground, not daring to make it worse, but not retreating either. Wanda, tiny and silent, shifted her weight. Logan noticed it. A subtle move, her free hand sliding against the van's doorframe. Her eyes flicked toward him, steady, pleading. She wasn't frozen. She was waiting. Logan understood. He raised both hands, palms open. "Look at me," he told the stepdad. "You think this ends with you walking away? It doesn't. Put the gun down before you make it worse." The man snarled, pressing the barrel harder against Wanda's temple. "She's mine to trade. You don't know who you're up against. You think this is just me? There are men behind me you can't even imagine." His words cut off when Wanda stomped her heel into his shin with all her strength. He flinched, gun jerking just an inch. An inch was enough. The night shattered in an instant, the gunshot ripping through rain and steel. Not from a biker, from an agent. The man dropped, weapon skittering across the wet asphalt. Wanda bolted into Logan's arms, shaking but silent, clinging to his vest like it was armor. The agents swarmed, cuffing the stepdad where he fell. He was screaming still, spitting curses, shouting names no one understood. But Logan didn't hear him. All he heard was the shallow breath of a girl who had finally been pulled from hell. For a brief moment, the highway was quiet again. Bikers stood in the rain, engines ticking as they cooled, watching feds haul the man away. No victory cheers, no fists in the air, just the heavy silence of men who knew this fight was far from over. Because Logan saw the look on the agents' faces as they scanned Switchblade's files. The trafficking ring didn't end here. This was only one cog in a machine that ran deeper than anyone wanted to admit. As he lifted Wanda into the safety of the van, Logan caught Ryder's gaze. "This ain't finished." Ryder nodded grimly. "No, it's just started." The stepdad's arrest should have ended it. The FBI had him cuffed, ranting in the rain, while Wanda clung to Logan's vest. But even as the agents loaded him into the SUV, Logan knew it wasn't over. The look in the man's eyes, desperate, defiant, carried a promise. He wasn't the kind to go down alone. 2 days later, the Iron Rain clubhouse buzzed with unease. Owen and Wanda were reunited with their mother, who looked 10 years older than her age, her hands trembling as she brushed hair from Wanda's face. The children could finally sleep through a night without waking. But Logan didn't relax. Neither did his men. Switchblade confirmed their fears. Files pulled from the stepdad's laptop revealed names, routes, transactions. The trafficking ring was real, sprawling far beyond the county. And word was spreading. Associates of the stepdad wanted payback. "They'll come for the family," Logan said flatly. "They won't risk him talking. We can't wait for the feds to babysit. We ride." The chance came sooner than anyone expected. Owen's mother had been summoned to testify in court, the first step toward clearing her name and making the abuse undeniable on record. The FBI offered transport, but Logan didn't trust them. Too many leaks. Too many officials already bought off. Still, the family was loaded into a semi-truck under federal escort with agents front and back. The convoy rolled toward the courthouse under gray skies. At mile 42, everything fell apart. A black SUV screeched across the highway, blocking the lead vehicle. From the rear, another car slammed into the FBI sedan, forcing it off the shoulder. And then came the semi, an 18-wheeler painted matte gray, barreling sideways to block the road. Doors flew open and armed men spilled out. Inside the truck, Owen clutched his mother's hand, fear sparking in his eyes. Wanda pressed close, silent as always, but her gaze darted toward the window, scanning for someone, anyone. The attackers advanced, weapons raised, shouting for the family to be dragged out. The FBI scrambled for cover, pinned down, their radios spitting static. It was a perfect ambush. The ground trembled first, and then headlights carved through the storm, the roar of 20 engines rising like a war cry. The roar of 20 engines hit the air like a war cry. Chrome glinted against the clouds as the iron rain stormed down the highway, formation tight, exhaust spitting fire. At their head, Logan's Harley surged forward, front tire skimming the yellow line. The ambushers froze as the convoy surrounded them, bikes weaving with precision, boxing in vehicles without firing a single shot. The semi that blocked the road suddenly found itself flanked, iron rain riders slamming chains against its sides, forcing its driver to cut the engine. Cars trying to flee were hemmed in, nowhere to run. Logan dismounted, boots crunching on wet asphalt. His brothers fanned out behind him, a wall of leather and steel. He didn't draw a weapon. He didn't need to. His voice carried over the storm. You picked the wrong family. The men hesitated, realizing they weren't staring down a few bikers. They were staring down an army, one that lived and breathed the road. Their confidence cracked. The FBI seized the moment. Agents surged from cover, rifles trained, shouting commands. Within minutes, the attackers were on their knees, cuffed and cursing as flashing lights filled the highway. Evidence from Switchblade's files tied them directly to the trafficking ring. Owen's mother stepped from the truck, knees shaking, her children clutching her hands. For once, she didn't hide her fear. She let it show, because beside it was something stronger, the relief of finally being believed. She looked at Logan, tears streaking down her face. Why? She asked softly. Why risk yourselves for us? Logan's eyes softened. He glanced at Owen, remembering the boy's small hand setting those crumpled bills on the counter. Because he asked us to, Logan said simply. And no one else ever listened. Claire McCready arrived days later, hair tied back, briefcase in hand. She tore through the courtroom with the precision of a soldier, dismantling every false charge against Owen's mother. With Iron Rain's evidence handed over in silence, no credit taken, no names mentioned, the case collapsed. The family was free. Weeks later, at the diner where it all began, Carla hung a frame above the counter. Inside, the $11 Owen had carried that night, pressed flat against black velvet. Beside it, a photograph of Owen and Wanda on miniature Harleys, smiles wide, Logan crouched behind them, hands steady on their shoulders. Patrons asked about it sometimes, why a gang of outlaws risked their lives for a boy with nothing to offer. Logan never explained in detail. He just pointed to the frame and said, because he walked in and asked. And that was enough. Owen grew stronger. Wanda began to speak again. Her first words whispered to Marcy as she played in the cabin yard. Their mother, though scarred, stood straighter, no longer a ghost in her own home. The Iron Rain rode on, engines thundering into the night. But above that counter, the $11 stayed not as payment but as proof. Proof that sometimes the fiercest families are the ones we choose, and that even men branded as outlaws could carry the weight of guardians. And for Logan, the boy's voice would never leave him. Not a plea for vengeance, not a call for blood, just a broken question that demanded an answer. Will you kill my stepdad for me? The answer they gave carried farther than any bullet, etched into memory, heavier than violence, impossible to ignore. This story reminds us that sometimes the people society fears the most are the ones who step up when no one else will. What would you have done if Owen had walked up to you with that plea? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if this story moved you, give it a like, share, and subscribe to embrace the journey for more powerful stories like this one. See you in the next video.